All right, let's look real quick at the standard here. Standard 4 again. The student will identify the ideological, we've discussed that, military and diplomatic aspects of the American Revolution. Now we want to talk about the diplomatic aspects of the American Revolution. So let's turn to 4b. 4b says explain the reason for, that's important, the reason for, and significance of the French alliance and foreign assistance, okay, and the roles of two people, Benjamin Franklin and then Marquis de Lafayette. Alright, so let's look at those things real quick. Let's look first at the reason for. What was the reason for the French alliance? Why did we need it? Well, our enemy at the time, who we were under attack, that had come across the ocean, Great Britain had attacked us, and they were on American shores, on American land. So France was the natural enemy of Great Britain. That's probably one of the reasons why we needed French alliance, or one of the reasons we reached out to them. France was a competitor in the imperial competition. That's probably another reason. But a big reason is because the United States was outnumbered by Great Britain, and the United States lacked vital materials needed for war. So let's look at the United States. We had a very small navy, very few ships in the navy, almost non-existent. And then we have a very small army, this ragtag group just thrown together. They were very untrained, a bunch of farmers with plowshares pretty much. Very little experience, and then we were low on ammunition and muskets and things needed to actually participate in war. So we really need to, if we're going to survive this Revolutionary War, we need some assistance or a French alliance so we can get some help and win this war against Great Britain. So that's the reason for our French alliance, why we need it. So let's look at Benjamin Franklin here. That's one of the things we need to talk about, is the role of Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin is the ambassador of France. In other words, he's going to be living in France, and he's going to be representing the United States in France. What he's going to do in France as a diplomat there, as an ambassador, is he's going to try to convince the French government to help us. In other words, to send us some military advisors, to send us some materials we need in war, muskets, lead, whatever we could get to help us defeat the British. So Benjamin Franklin is going to be very successful in doing that. He's a very successful diplomat, very intelligent when it comes to those things, but he's going to help the United States make the foreign alliance with France. That's another reason we need to remember him. From Unit 1, we talked about him being an example of social mobility and individualism. Now we talk about him being this ambassador that's going to help us get French alliance and that foreign assistance we need to win the war. Very effective in getting French assistance and help. Okay, that's Benjamin Franklin. He's going to have help. There's going to be one more person we need to talk about. So the conditions were, let's go back. Here's France. We talked about where it was before, and there's the United Kingdom of Great Britain there. So here's France, and France is going to put conditions on Benjamin Franklin and Marquis de Lafayette. They don't want to go get in this quarrel with Great Britain over here in the New World, over here where the American colonies are, if it means that the colonies are going to pull out or lose, and then France be left with this big war and fight against Great Britain. So the United States has to show, one of the conditions the French put up is the United States has to show that it has ability to win this war. So France did not want to have the total responsibility to win the war for the Americans. So Benjamin Franklin gets the help of a French aristocrat, a very wealthy Frenchman named Marquis de Lafayette. And Marquis de Lafayette is experienced in military, very educated in military strategy. So he comes to the United States, and he is aide-de-camp with George Washington, becomes a commander of forces with George Washington. And he is even going to experience the hardships of Valley Forge, we're going to talk about in a little while, with George Washington. He's going to fight with George Washington. He was instrumental in helping get French reinforcements. In other words, Navy and an army and some assistance from French intellectuals to come over here and help with this war against Great Britain. It is Marquis de Lafayette that is going to come up with the strategy at the Battle of Yorktown. The Battle of Yorktown is going to be the last battle of the war. That we're going to hem up or capture General Charles Cornwallis, the British general there, and that's going to end. That is going to end the war. It's Marquis de Lafayette to come up with that. That's why he's extremely important to remember. So we have Benjamin Franklin, and then we have Marquis de Lafayette are going to help one another get this French friendship or alliance and assistance. So Marquis de Lafayette is going to help Benjamin Franklin get French support. He's going to plan the Battle of Yorktown and capture of General Cornwallis at Yorktown. He's going to serve as a military aide to General George Washington, and he's going to winter at Valley Forge and suffer everything the soldiers do there. So we need to remember those two guys. You know, a lot of my students understand and remember Benjamin Franklin. He's pretty easy for them. But this guy, you know, he's pretty difficult to remember. Just come up with a way to help you remember Marquis de Lafayette. You know, especially with foreign names like Montesquieu, Marquis de Lafayette. That could be a cause of some confusion later on when you go to take the test. You know, some of my students said the way they remember it is they see Lafayette, and then, I know this sounds strange, but whatever helps you remember, they said Laffy Taffy was a song they listened to, and they danced when they hear the song Laffy Taffy. And that after the Battle of Yorktown, that's where all the American and French soldiers were doing, were dancing around. So they made the connection there. And I know that's not academic, but any way you could connect this person to the Battle of Yorktown and winning the American Revolution, then that'll work. Okay. Now at the Battle of Saratoga, if you recall, the conditions were that the Americans must show they had the ability to win the war. So it was at the Battle of Saratoga is going to be the turning point in the American Revolution, because the United States or the colonists are going to win the Battle of Saratoga. And even though they were outnumbered, and this is going to convince France to send aid like ships and guns to the colonists and give us assistance and give us this diplomatic recognition as a separate nation. And this is the first time the United States has given diplomatic recognition by a foreign country. France was that country that did that. All right, the Battle of Saratoga happened up in upper New York, close to the Hudson. And that's the Battle of Saratoga, the turning point. Alright, so we have Benjamin Franklin and Marquis de Lafayette work together to get French help. After the Battle of Saratoga, the French agree to give us assistance and help, and they send ships, supplies, and soldiers. Alright, what type of assistance? The French army is going to help us at the Battle of Yorktown. We're going to see that in a few minutes when we talk about the Battle of Yorktown and capture Cornwallis. The French army was very helpful in helping us hem him in and capture and trap him. And let's not forget that this Frenchman here, Marquis de Lafayette, you know, this aristocrat, very intelligent French aristocrat, helped us come up with this plan of capture. And the French Navy is going to be very instrumental in capturing Cornwallis at Yorktown and in the Chesapeake Bay area. So we're going to look at that too. And then these weapons of war we needed, muskets, you know, the bayonets on the end, and the lead and the gunpowder. You know, France is going to help us with all that. So that's what type of assistance we needed, why we needed it, the reasons we needed it. The impact or significance of the French alliance of foreign assistance from them is that they're going to help us win. So the French army and navy and all those assistance they give us help us capture Cornwallis at Yorktown, help us corner him in. And Lafayette was a large part of this. And then after we capture Cornwallis, King and Parliament are going to be forced to negotiate a peace with the United States. And then with that peace, the Treaty of Paris 1783, Great Britain's going to be forced to officially recognize the United States as a separate nation. Okay? So the Declaration of Independence really did not get independence for the American colonies. The American Revolution had to be won first. And how do we win the American Revolution? With French help, with French alliance, with French assistance, with these French weapons and navy and army. That's how we do it, and that's the significance of the French alliance. Okay, I hope this helps you. I think we met our objective. It said to explain the reason for and significance of the French alliance and the foreign assistance, the roles of Benjamin Franklin and Marquis de Lafayette. Small army, this ragtag group just thrown together. They were very untrained, a bunch of farmers with plowshares pretty much. Very little experience, and then we were low on ammunition and muskets and things needed to actually participate in war. So we really need to, if we're going to survive this Revolutionary War, we need some assistance or a French alliance. Alright, let's look real quick at the standard here, standard 4 again. The student will identify the ideological, we've discussed that, military and diplomatic aspects of the American Revolution. Now we want to talk about the diplomatic aspects of the American Revolution. So let's turn to 4b. 4b says explain the reason for, that's important, the reason for, and significant. Well, our enemy at the time, who we were under attack, that had come across the ocean, Great Britain had attacked us, and they were on American shores, on American land. So France was the natural enemy of Great Britain. That's probably one of the reasons why we needed French alliance, or one of the reasons we reached out to them. France was a competitor against the French alliance and foreign assistance. Okay. And the roles of two people, Benjamin Franklin and then Marquis de Lafayette. Alright, so let's look at those things real quick. Let's look first at the reason for. What was the reason for the French alliance? Why did we need it? In the imperial competition, that's probably another reason. But a big reason is because the United States was outnumbered by Great Britain, and the United States lacked vital materials needed for war. So let's look at the United States. We had a very small navy, very few ships in the navy, almost non-existent, and then we have very